One of the things that I have noticed, and I keep saying, and at first I was saying it kind of like a joke based on things that have happened to me in my targeting experience, but now I'm even thinking about it even more, right? So as I said, I'm in Europe, but I am American. I'm American born, and I lived in in New York until I was like 23 before coming to Barcelona, and now I'm in France, right? And I'm close to the Mediterranean region. So I've always joked that I don't know what it is, but like things that happen to me or things that happen around me, I always say like I don't know why that's so surprising because in America that's normal, or especially when it comes to certain things related to having courage of dealing with certain situations, right? And I started to think about it. I'm like, how come in America this and how come in America that? And I even would joke and say, I feel like in America maybe there are more sold individuals. Maybe there are more people who are from, these I don't know, what do you want to call it? What do you want to call it? Star seeds. I don't know what you want to call it because I don't really delve into that side of like, but there are more souls that were born into the United States region. And that's why, in a way, in the States, the way that we are, how should I say, treated is more rigorous because they know that maybe it could be that there are more souled individuals there. Not to say that they're not NPCs and demons running around, but that maybe there are more souled individuals there. And that's why, if you compare the United States, take for example the food in comparison to like Europe and other places, we're the ones that are being given a lot of chemicals. We're the ones being given a lot, and a lot of poisons in our environment. They're doing way more to try to keep us down because maybe we already are souls that were born at a certain level, right, of consciousness. And in the States, we already know a lot of the stuff that goes on because it's our own government that has been doing a lot of these experimentations and all of these kind of things, right? So it's always been in my mind, and I'm thinking, this is why in the States, we're treated more harsher in some ways. So when Americans, especially if you have a soul and end up going to other parts of the world, especially in ley lines where there is a desire to maintain tradition and rigid social constructs, we tend to get targeted more, or strange things start to happen to us more, right? And the targeting can come in many forms. So obviously, I feel like that was the case with me. And if you know what's going on in Europe and the attempt of these governments to try to bring in a lot of immigration, and I think that's the purpose. And I'm not European, and it's something that I'm seeing, and it is kind of a racial situation if you think of it from that point of view. But I'm not looking at it from race and ego. I'm looking at it from the purpose of the agenda of a lot of these governments. They're bringing in a lot of immigrants from certain regions and certain cultures, and specifically religions that are antichrist, okay, so that it can influence and take hold of the society and keep them in fear, in anger, and also eventually in blindness from the truth of Jesus Christ, right? Let's leave it at that. And I feel that in particularly I am speaking out about this religion because it was what was used in my targeting. So I feel like it's related to me. I wasn't targeted by Buddhists. I was targeted by individuals that were of a particular religion that I felt were trying to hide the hand of God in my life and slander any kind of advancement that was happening to me because of Jesus Christ and my belief in God, to negative things, so that it wouldn't inspire other people or show the falsehood of that religion, right? And I'm not going to mention it because I don't know how TikTok is doing with the strikes and all that, but you get if you know the Mediterranean, you know what religion I'm talking about. So I was listening the other day to a woman on TikTok. I think her name was like Selena. I'll link it later. And she was actually in Dubai, and she's telling the story of all of the corruption in Dubai for women. And she had like a situation where she was raped. She had a situation where she was I guess bamboozled in a business deal, and she's English. She's not American though. But she goes into exposing all of these things. And as I'm listening to her story, I'm like, that is a spiritual attack. That is a targeting. This one was pulled out of a taxi cab, and she was, you know, SA'd. Okay. I don't know if it will be blocked now, but she was SA'd. So I was like, after that, somebody was sent to her and to basically destroy her business, throw her off her track. Basically, that's what it was coming down to me from with my spiritual ears. And I said, isn't that ironic? You know, that in the end she left that region, because that is what I feel is always the goal. And I felt like this is what has been the goal for a lot of these parasitics for me in this area. Anytime anything would happen, they would be, you know, they would like all of a sudden all of these people would come around me and say like, "Do you want to go back to New York? You don't want to go back to the States? You don't want to go back to, you know, as if you don't want to go back to your ley line regions where you can be harnessed and controlled and can't spread that influence." And that's what I feel that it's about. And I noticed that a lot of the, you know, people who are born maybe in America or England who maybe could possibly have souls and end up in this region, we have these strange things happen to them sometimes. And I feel like it is a covert targeting meant to push them out of this region because they do not want that expansion of consciousness, especially among women, um, in these areas in the Middle East and in the Mediterranean, because um, again, they want to maintain certain illusions and certain limitations on the souls in this region. And we are a threat to that because we're coming from regions where we are already hearing and expanding our consciousness, and any kind of interaction with us would continuously be, you know, um, uh, lift up the population and the consciousness in these regions. So I don't know. That's how I feel about it, and that's why I feel like in the States you see so many differences and so many attempts to create so much distraction and difficulties for American people, because I do feel it could be that we are all pooled in there, a lot of these souls that are meant to awaken. And when we go expanding out into other countries, it's kind of like we're escaping and then we're interfering with the ley lines in other areas. Um, but that's the way God probably wants it, because, you know, and that's the way it's going to be, because at this point, the way the energy is coming into this this realm at the moment, the kingdom of God is upon us. And if you've seen the Schumann resonance, that's it. That system is dismantled, and I feel like it's exposed. So it's going to be what it's going to be. The consciousness is expanding no matter what. But I really just wanted to point that out, that it's interesting to recognize that. I'm not saying that Americans are more soul than anybody else, because there are a lot of people around the world that there are a lot of souls, not a lot, but you know what I mean. They're all over. But yeah, I really do feel that Americans, something's going on in that country. Maybe they knew that there were going to be souls that had to be reincarnate to awaken society. Something was done to make sure we were all born into like a similar location where we could be controlled. That's how I feel. That's my theory. This is my new theory. And basically every time that we escape the States and go into other parts of the world, we are obviously encroaching on the social structures of other regions that want to continuously maintain the people enchained and in bondage in their ideologies. Anyways, just an interesting theory. Just wanted to share that. I'm going to share the link of the woman because I think it is important, and she also speaks about things related to this religion and how it is used, and it has been used to um, you know, disempower women in this region, and the illusions that people might have of this country as being safe are actually because this area tries to hide all of the evils that go on behind the curtain. So anyway, so I'll link the video, and I hope you have a wonderful day and it's something to think about. That's all.